poor.
Not the poor.
So I have a pretty awesome opportunity coming up later on this week. I've been asked by the National Poor People's Campaign to go to New York City to be a part of a press conference to talk about the van tour that we've got coming here next month. I'm flying out to go to New York City. I'm nervous, but it's going to be fun. So I wanted to give you guys just a little taste of what I'm going to say. Is that all right?
Great!
Brief update of what I'm going to say when I get to New York City. Practice on. My hometown of Elmira is hosting a stop on this historic van tour because we are the face of the real national emergency. Our city was designed to ensure that those who were sent here would be locked up and forgotten. During the Civil War, Elmira housed one of the most deadliest Civil War prison camps in the North. We are known as the Death Camp of the North, the Andersonville Response, or as local residents still call it, I'm sure you guys can help me out with this,
Prison town.
Elmira. When the war ended, Elmira stayed in the business of the mass incarceration industrial complex. We are home to not one but two maximum security facilities, one at either end of town. These are constant reminders of a system that is profiting from locking people up with the intention of forgetting them. The law and order and tough-on-crime culture permeates the whole town. We elected the sheriff as the county executive, and while our community is suffering poverty at rates of 1 in 4, he is fighting and suing the legislature. In the meantime, our hockey team, the Elmira Enforcers, have a mascot who personifies almost every negative stereotype in law enforcement. They got into a bar fight in the first month that they were here, and somebody ended up in ICU. Last week, the owner and the management were slapped with huge fines because there was a fight on the ice between the owner, the managers, and the referees that the local police department was called into because of a 911 call during a game. But all of this is a distraction. We have people in this city who are suffering from injustice and inequality. We will not be silent about it anymore. We are a hot spot for lead poisoning. Our schools have dismal grades, poor proficiency, but a really strong and effective school-to-prison pipeline that robs our children of an opportunity to escape this hell. We only have 62% graduation rate in this city. We were recently called out in the national media for being one of only 2 cities in the country who are still in recession. While the country claims that they have job creators everywhere, Elmira's numbers are going down. Our production of goods and services have declined every year since 2012. We have dismal health rankings and shocking numbers of teen pregnancies. While we continue to hire school resource officers instead of social workers, in the meantime we've also made headlines for being #1 in the country for prescription opioid abuse. The evils of oppression are trying to silence us, but we will not be silent and we will not be forgotten. So we're going to fight poverty!
Fight poverty!
Not the poor!
Not the poor!
Fight poverty!
Fight poverty!
Not the poor!
Not the poor!
So while I was doing that research, I found some other stuff. As you know me, I like to read stuff. That's who I am. I can't help it, you know, I read.
Good job.
Thank you. So is that going to work when I get So there's this website called nationalpriorities.org that allows you to go through very many different parts of the federal budget and find out exactly what your city is paying for. For example, in the military, in 2017, Elmira paid $23.51 million to support the military. There's a part of that website that's called trade-offs, and it gets to show us what we could have spent that money on. We could have paid for 230 elementary school teachers to work for a year. We could have paid for 2,239 Head Start slots for a year. Kids getting a better start in education. We could have paid 1,821 vets to have health care for a year. Or we could have had 7,794 children have low-income health care instead of spending that on the military. So that's why we say we're going to fight poverty.
Fight poverty!
Not the poor.
Not the poor!
So you heard about those predator drones, right? That we've got over there blowing stuff up. We're paying for those too. We pay almost $55,000 a year for that.
For what?
If we, pardon me?
For what?
For the predator drones that are over around the world blowing things up for us.
Okay.
That would have paid for 8 scholarships to a 4-year college or 57 houses to get solar energy for a year if we weren't paying for predator drones. Medicaid costs our area $14.15 million a year. The New York Health Act would help so much with so much of that cost. That would just wipe that right out. But instead, we could have had 254 infrastructure jobs. But we're going to spend it on waste. The federal prisons. Now, again, that's something we know about here at Elmira, right?
Yep.
We spent more than $250,000 last year on federal prisons, which could have gotten us 441 houses with wind power or 272 houses getting solar power.
How much was that?
A little over 250,000. Which wasn't that much. I was surprised, but my guess is that a lot of our cost for that comes from
That
other
was federal
areas.
prisons, that wasn't Elmira.
State, right? That's not state prisons.
That was our contribution to federal.
contribution.
Contribution.
Right, right. And there's a whole lot of other ways that the state prisons here in town impact us. We're going to talk a lot more about that when we get to the hearing. I'm not quite done with that research yet. We're working on it. It'll come. So we heard about this war on terror, right? Since 2001, we've been in the war on terror. And I was pretty terrified when I found out how much we're paying for that still. So just to care for the vets that came out of our war on terror, the United States taxpayers are paying $2.2 million an hour.
Oh my God.
An hour. That comes out to over $300 billion so far and counting. To see the website is also pretty scary because it ticks. So you can see how fast it goes up. So I say, let's fight poverty.
Fight poverty!
Not the poor.
Not the poor!
So military costs for this war on terror, we're spending $11.76 million an hour on that, with over $2.9 trillion so far. And the total cost of war since 2001, we're paying $32 million an hour. $4.7 trillion already. Somebody is hurting our people, and it's gone on for far too long. So then I started to look a little bit at mass incarceration. That costs us $182 billion a year between private individuals, local, state, and federal governments. Just policing criminal crime costs us $63 billion a year. The telephone calls to and from prisons. I don't know if anybody in here has had phone calls. Really expensive, isn't it?
It's really expensive.
$1.3 billion a year they make off of you making phone calls to the prison. Fight poverty,
Fight poverty!
not the poor.
Not the poor!
87% of our prisons are state, not federal, which goes into the point that Reverend Bell made a minute ago when we were talking about how much. So yeah, it's the state prisons that are costing us. The commissary vendors, because when you're in prison and in jail, you got to deal with commissary. You don't just get to go to the store like the rest of us do. The commissary vendors make $1.6 billion a year. Bail bondsmen make over $1 billion a year. So there's a lot of different pieces of this system that are designed to make money off of us. And as long as they're making that money, they're not going to be interested in hearing what we have to say about please stop doing that.
That's right. That's right.
That's why we have to say, fight poverty!
Fight poverty!
Not the poor!
Not the poor!
Let's see what else. So, I looked into our 2 prisons. Because, well, by golly, we're lucky enough to have 2 of them, aren't we?
Yeah.
So the first one started in 1876 as a reformatory for young men.
Is it okay if I sit right here?
Contained adolescents until 1991. Did not stop serving teenagers.
Oh, thank you.
It has a capacity of 1,700 people.
I'll hold it.
Most of them have been diagnosed with a mental health problem. The highest numbers are in depression, schizophrenia, and psychotic disorders.
You're hungry.
So let's go lock up somebody with psychotic disorder and see how they behave. Inmates in there say that they're harassed by COs, receive poor medical services, and insufficient programs. So lock them up all day and not give them anything to do, that's probably going to help things, right?
Yeah.
They have a problem with folks in the prison that have HIV and are co-infected with hepatitis C, and they have very poor medical services. They don't have enough people in there to be able to take care of these, well, they want to tell us they're criminals, and I understand they've been convicted of a crime, but I think they're still human, right?
Right.
Right.
Sure they are. So there's a special housing unit up on the hill that is used for disciplinary confinement. They have 54 blocks in there that are individual cells. They're almost always full, but they also have a residential treatment section in the prison for folks with mental health that's almost never full. So you're going to put all these people in solitary confinement without treating any of their mental health problems. There's something wrong with that. Somebody is hurting our people, and it's gone on for far too long. So a report that I found had this little summary when they went to go visit the hill. This is a group that goes out and evaluates, assesses these prisons for us. Regardless of the outcome, the whole situation, from a correction officer to the lack of therapeutic intervention on the part of mental health staff and inmates, refusal to speak to them, struck us as absurd. So we're going to have COs pretending that they're mental health professionals. I'm going to college to be a mental health professional right now, and I can tell you that's not going to work out real well. So then they also visited Southport. And I don't know how many know about Southport, because Southport's not something we talk about very often here in Elmira. It opened in 1991 as the state's first Supermax prison.
What?
Pretty scary word by itself, Supermax. It holds up to 780 male inmates in disciplinary confinement. That's the only way you get to Southport, is if you've messed up someplace else in the system, so you end up in Southport because that's your punishment. Did you? Do you want to talk about it? All right. If you change your mind, you let me know, okay? So when you're at Southport, you're locked up for 23 hours a day. You get 1 hour a day for recreation. I can't tell you how many studies have come out to talk about the damage that it does to human beings to lock them up for 23 hours a day. Take through with 3 stations, we're being told. Well, and that's also a privilege, right? Like if you're level 1, you don't get to listen to that, right? There's different levels. There's level 1, 2, and 3 when you're at Southport. Level 1, they say for the new folks, or for the folks who get in trouble a lot. And those guys, one of the things that the report talked about was being on the loaf. Is that something you've heard of, being on the loaf? Gosh, a problem with correction officers? They didn't hold your hand and walk you around? Yeah, well, and that's a big part of the issue, absolutely. So when you're on the loaf, you're on a restricted diet. It means you get a loaf of dense bread and raw cabbage 3 times a day, and that's all you eat when you're on the loaf.
Ew.
You don't get meals, that's what you get.
Ew.
Inmates that serve at Southport complain of hearing inmates with mental illness yell and scream all day and all night. Can you imagine living around that? But we're not supposed to talk about Southport because that's paying paychecks and folks have jobs. So Becca, what are you doing out here complaining about the prisons? These are good jobs for people out here. Well, I say, fight poverty!
Fight poverty!
Not the poor!
Not the poor!
That's right. Does anybody else want to take a moment with the... Something else to say? Hear my voice all day.
I just want to say that if you took $1 bill, just one, and think about how we spend that $1 bill, I could more than break it in half. 55% of that $1 bill now goes to the military expenditure that this community is assessed. How much do you have left? 45 cents, roughly. 45 cents. Out of that 45 cents, how much of that goes to spend on the courts, on the Justice Department, on the sheriff, on the police department?
Oh shoot, it's upside down.
45 cents goes there. Not quite. Not quite. The point is that what we're trying to make is that there's not enough left over
That's right.
for people to live as human beings. Fight poverty,
Fight poverty,
not the poor.
not the poor.
And so, as a result of that, we have to take a look at reprioritizing what is the priority not only of America, but what is the priority of this community to make human beings and not targets. Not targets. Fight poverty,
Fight
but
poverty,
not the poor.
but not the poor.
And so when you look at what's left over, we are just killing ourselves, and the cycle of poverty will never end until we refocus our energy on what is the poverty, what is the priority of this country, what is the priority of this community. And if it's going to be, it has to start with me. If it's going to be, it has to start with each of us. If it's going to be, this is where it begins. So we're encouraging you to participate in any way that you can, and find some other people that can share the vision, and we can do more together than we can ever do alone. Thank you. Thank you.
So I've been kind of killing you with my fight poverty. How about we say, forward together.
Forward together,
Not one step back.
not one step back.
Forward together.
Forward together,
Not one step back.
not one step back.
So when we started this whole revival of the Poor People's Campaign, we did an audit of the poor soul. Oh boy, I messed it all up, didn't I? The souls of poor folk audit. Thank you, Suzanne. So part of that gave us some amazing, shocking, scary details. So somebody has been hurting my people, and it's gone on for far too long. 51% of the people in New York State are poor or low income. A total of 9.9 million residents. This includes 61% of children, 2.6 million, 52% of women, 67% of people of color, and 39% of white people. From 1979 to 2012, the income of the top percent grew by 307%, while the income of the bottom 99% only increased by 8%.
Shame.
Shame,
Shame!
shame,
Shame!
shame, shame.
Shame! Absolutely, absolutely. When we talk about systemic racism and its relationship to poverty, since 2013, of the 123 reported police killings where the victim's race was identified, 64% of them were black. Of the 51,000 people in prison, about 75% of them are people of color. Black residents of incarcerated people are at 8 times the rate of white residents. Shame, shame, shame. Over 99,000 people were deported from New York between 2003 and 2017. We just had a report last week of ICE being seen in Binghamton. They're here. They're here. Militarism in the war economy. New York's law enforcement currently possesses at least $32 million in military equipment. Do we look like we need military equipment to keep us under control today? I don't think so.
I'm freezing.
$9.1 billion were spent on defense in 2015, with $6.5 billion in defense contracts. Almost 214,000 veterans have incomes below $35,000 in New York, 23% of New York's veteran population. Is this how we're treating the folks that we just sent off to protect us? Ecology and health. Over 1 million people are uninsured in New York State. 15.8 of the census tracts are at risk for being unable to afford water in New York State.
Shame.
27,896 tons of nitrous oxide are annually emitted in New York, a leading cause of respiratory problems. Everybody's got a right to live.
Right.
About 89,000 people are homeless, working at a state minimum wage. It takes 116 hours of work a week to afford a two-bedroom apartment. 3.2 million workers make under $15 an hour, 38% of the workforce in New York. In New York. This is not acceptable. This is not okay. Somebody is hurting our people.
And it's
And I think it's gone on for far too long. Absolutely, absolutely. I think it's time for a song. That means we're going to have to stop our live stream, because that's where the songs are. So, sorry live stream folks. We'll be back.